Good morning. You're listening to Overcoming Life. I am your host, Opal Bailey. This morning topic came from a friend. She wanted me to discuss this, so I am so excited about it because it's pretty good topic, and I think everyone will relate to it. The question is, should you know the position you play in a person's life, and does it matter? When I was thinking about the answer to this question, the first thing that came to mind was the scripture in Genesis 1 when God said he created man and then he created the woman. And the reason why God created the woman was because God saw that the man was alone. So that let me know that God designed his purpose, his creation, and his reason for creating man was that we don't be alone. Now, there are many roles that we can play in people's lives all day long. You can be a role model. You could be a coach. You can be a teacher, a business owner. You could be an employer, employee. You could be a friend. You could be a fiance. So we play various roles in everyone's life. But the main thing that I want to talk about is having a specific role means that that person, whoever that person may be, need to invite you into that role in their life. We're not to just take our right and just go into somebody's life and say, hey, I want to be a role and I want to know my position in your life if they haven't invited us into being a part of their life. We have boundaries. I have a friend that says he stays in his hula hoop, which is pretty funny, but it's right. And what that means is he has boundaries, and it's up to him to allow someone to come into his hula hoop, which means he have to lift up the hula hoop and say, I invite you in to my space. And when we think about, should we have a position in someone's life, you got to also think about, well, what kind of position are you looking for? And is that position something you want to be a part of? Because when we think about Adam and Eve, Adam had a position, and then God saw that he was alone. He brought in Eve. He brought in the woman to help him. So the woman already knew her role. Her role wasn't something, she didn't come in with some other kind of role or wanted to take over, wanted to do what she wanted to do. She had a role. And because she knew her role and he knew his role, they were able to work together, and well, you know the story. So my question to you is, why is it so important that you know your role in a person's life? If they just want you to be a friend, then just be a friend. And you got to also look at the fact is this something that I have an issue with? Is it something that I need to correct in my own life? Is it unmet expectations that I'm expecting people to do this because I'm doing this for them? If I'm a friend, or if I'm a best friend, if I'm always there, if I'm always calling, I'm always texting, Facebooking, and doing all these things, and I find they're not doing the same amount that I'm doing, then you got to look at the fact that why are you doing what you're doing? Because every person view each other's role in their life differently. I can say one of my friends is I could be a best friend to somebody. Well, then that same person can say, well, to me, you're a friend. And we have to look at the fact that that's their opinion. That's what they see. And I have to be okay with being a friend, even though I feel I am a best friend. And so we can't go and put our own expectations and our boundaries and our control, and we want to just dominate the whole topic, and we want to just dominate their lives and say, hey, I want to be a role in your life, and I need to know where I sit and where I'm standing and what place I'm in. Now, this is outside of relationship. Now, when you're in a relationship, you should know where you stand. You should know your role. You should know your position. If you're a boyfriend and girlfriend, if you're dating, if you're a fiance, that shouldn't be a question where you stand. And if it is a question, then it's because you haven't asked where I stand in our relationship. And most of the time when we're in relationships, we don't ask questions anyway. We just assume that it is what it is. But the moment you begin to ask the person that you are involved in, hey, where do I stand? That should be a acceptable question. That should be something that that person will consider valuable, that you even want to know. And you should be able to get the answer that you need. And know that you may not receive the answer that you want at the same time. So we have to make sure that when we want to know the roles we play in people's lives, you got to look at, why do I have to have a role? Why can't you just be a friend? Why can't you just be someone that they can call and talk to whenever they want to and be okay with that, if that's something you want to do? But another thing I want you to really think about is, how do you see yourself in the role you trying to be to someone else? Because when we go back to Adam and Eve knew her role. Eve knew her role. The woman knew her role. She knew what her purpose was. It was to be his helpmeet. She was created for that specific purpose. What role are you playing in the purpose that God has for your life? And out of that, God will present you with people who has a specific, destined, designed, created purpose for your life, so that you will not have to ask what it is I am in your life, or what place I have in your life, and what position I hold in your life. Because basically what you're saying is, I want to come in your life and I want to take over your life, and I just want to do what I want to do, and I want to say what you want to say, and you're going to treat me this way because I'm treating you this way. And when we have that mentality of control and unmet expectations, because something you're expecting you're not getting, then we feel that the other person is not responding to you. And therefore, we have to understand that our whole concept, our whole totality in relationship, it starts with God. We have to ask God what our role is. What is the role that God has for your life? And look to fulfill that role. And be a friend. If it's a friend, you're in a relationship, then be in that relationship, but know your role. You can't go and want to be a manager and walk in Starbucks and say, hey, I want to be a Starbucks manager. I'm here. Okay. And start giving orders, and they're going to look at you like something is wrong. They're probably going to kick you out. And so who wants to do that? Who would want someone in their life to come and overtake their life? No one wants that. So you have to be invited to come into someone's life. Someone has to invite you into their space. And when someone invites you into their space, is letting you know that, hey, I trust you with what I have in my life. I trust you to be there. And you always got to think about, am I the friend that I want to be in my life? And if you're not the friend that you want someone to be in life, then you got to work on you being a friend. Because sometimes we think that friends is temporarily. And sometimes we do have people that comes in our life that is temporary. Some is longevity. Some is life lasting. But you got to know what kind of friend you are. What kind of friend do you want in your life? Then you have to be that person. If you want someone that you can call at 3:00 in the morning and say, hey, I need an ear. Hey, can you come over? Then you have to be that person to that person, not conditional based on what you want or the way you feel like you should do it. The life lesson is, don't put too much on a person and let them be the one to choose the role you play, and accept people for who they are. This is Overcoming Life. I am your host, Opal Bailey. God bless.